Chopping block Denver, take one. Not a dividend.
It's a tale of two quants.
Now, your losses are on someone else's balance sheet.
Generally speaking, airdrops are kind of pointless anyways.
Unnamed trading firms who are very involved.
I like that ETH is the ultimate Ponzi.
DeFi protocols are the antidote to this problem.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Chopping Block. Every couple of weeks, the four of us get together and give the industry insider's perspective on the crypto topics of the day. So quick intros. First, we got Tom, the DeFi maven and master of memes.
Hello, everyone.
Next, we got Robert, the crypto connoisseur and czar of Superstate.
Good morning.
Then we've got Tarun, the Gigabrain and Grand Poobah at Gauntlet.
Yo.
And I am Haseeb, the head hype man at Dragonfly. So we're early stage investors in crypto, but I want to caveat that nothing we say here is investment advice, legal advice, or even life advice. Please see Chopping Blocks at XYZ for more disclosures. So it has been a very down bad kind of week. Crypto has been bleeding, and the damage has been pretty much everywhere. We had a day of, I think, $1 billion of liquidations earlier this week. And all of us are here at ETH Denver, which has somewhat been kind of mollifying the pain. I don't know if you guys have been experiencing
I don't know about that. I'm mollifying was not the word.
You don't feel the pain is mollified? I feel like when you're around other people, it's a lot better when markets are doing like
shared emotions.
Yeah.
I felt more that way. I think the vibes at the Solana conference last week at Mountain DAO were better than at ETH Denver. ETH Denver is very negative. Like I
have not perceived that actually. I feel like mostly people aren't talking about price stuff.
I mean, it's not the price stuff. It's the fact that like half the infrastructure doesn't work and roll-up schedules are late, and Base is using AWS and dot. Everyone has a complaint. It's been the stream
What's your
of
complaint?
complaints.
Everybody has a complaint.
Everyone's complaining too much.
Ooh, meta.
The meta
Love
complaint.
Okay, wow. The chief complainer, thank you.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm constantly just getting inundated with people complaining here.
Okay,
Whereas
so
like in Mountain DAO,
Tarun, people, everyone complains to Tarun. What's the vibe for you guys?
For me, I'm just bumping into old crypto friends everywhere I go. And I'm mostly just socializing and having a great time.
So you're finding it lovely.
Yeah, I think it's been lovely.
Maybe it's an attitude difference.
Leshner doesn't go to conferences much though.
Yeah, I never
That's
go to
the
conferences.
difference.
Okay.
He's just happy to be here.
I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah.
People are happy
I feel
to see me.
This is the power of positivity right here.
Yeah.
You see the delta.
Yeah.
Okay.
Glass is half bull versus glass is half
every
bear.
investment committee needs a bull and a bear.
I am the
There you
bull
are here.
for sure.
I think it's pretty mellow. Like I remember years when like just Denver was like totally overrun and it was just like chaos. And this is, we're saying like a lot of these venues are like pretty empty and I don't know, the streets don't feel like chaotic. And I don't hate it actually. It feels a little bit like a bear market conference.
You like the chill vibe.
Yeah.
Totally. Like comparatively to previous Denvers, like previously it was like everything is overrun with people and it's just completely insane. This year does not feel like that at all. It feels like people were preparing for a last year kind of turnout.
They're home
And
building.
they're not seeing that. Yeah.
No, I think it was that DevCon was such a smashing success that ETH Denver just feels like a piece of shit comparatively.
Was DevCon a smashing success?
I thought DevCon
heard
was
very
great.
mediocre reviews about DevCon.
I mean, I think comparatively, it was just like people were way more excited. They were both on the developer and investor side. And also, I just felt like because DevCon's moved to this like every other year type of thing,
right.
The years that you have one, it saps the energy from all the other conferences.
It's like the Olympics.
Yeah,
Sure.
I definitely felt that vibe.
My theory is that so every ETH Denver, okay, there's the developers, the true believers, the people who've been going for a long time, people who are actually doing the hackathon.
You didn't mention investors.
There are obviously a lot of investors like ourselves, and then you also have the people who are there for like the culture, right? And it feels like that culture has really drained out of Ethereum because the culture, even a year ago, there were a lot of NFT people who were still coming. And I feel like there's no NFT people here anymore. I mean, there's a little bit, this metamorphose into like, okay, there's abstract, there's pudgy, and they're meme coins now. And the meme coin scene is just, it's not here. It's not in Ethereum
That's true.
land. And so like all of the retail, all of the people who are the touristy kind of, pallbearers for the culture, they wouldn't come to Denver.
Wait, the pallbearers for the culture.
Pallbearer. Wait, that's right.
I think it's the opposite.
No,
I feel
sorry.
like
That was a Freudian slip.
Yeah, that was a Freudian slip.
That's right.
Yeah.
The flame bears.
The flame bearers. Yeah. Now we're left with pallbearers.
That's right. That's
Yes.
right. Now we are the pallbearers essentially.
Yes, the four of us are holding up the culture.
Okay. Well, that all being said, like I do like the smaller vibe. It's like less overrun. There's more space. There's like time to go between things. And like I do actually appreciate that. But I did hear that last week I think a lot of people were in Hong Kong for Consensus, and apparently that was like really good. That was like super packed. But I feel like a lot of the delta may have been, I was just talking to somebody who was there, and they were telling me that, yeah, there was a ton of meme coin excitement in Hong Kong. And I have to imagine a lot of that has already died off.
Well,
in the last 2 weeks.
another thing as the anecdotal evidence, like a lot of people I knew last year, there were a lot more people I knew who came from Asia. And this year, I feel like there was not much international. Like the number of people who flew from out of the US seems way less than last year.
It may be now, actually, because this is the first year that Consensus Hong Kong was really big. It may be that Consensus Hong Kong kind of pulled some of the people who are willing to travel. And they were like, okay, if I'm going to go travel, I might as well travel to Asia and like go, hit a spot I don't usually hit. And then it's like, well, I just saw everybody.
But even a lot of the Ethereum core developers I know who are in Europe went to DevCon and were like, I'm not going to go to Denver. I felt like there really was this like, I'm picking one of the two.
Yeah, it's the fall of a great city.
Are there too many conferences?
Great city?
Are there too many conferences?
Are there too many conferences?
Yeah, I also think people don't want to go to Denver.
Yeah, I was like, great
yeah.
city, great city.
Mean, it's a storied city. Whatever. There are people. Okay, fine. All right, you hate Denver. I get it. You hate everything.
I don't hate
all right,
everything.
Let's
I
talk
love
about,
Boulder.
Let's talk about
Boulder's
more
great.
terrible things that have happened in the last couple of weeks, because there's no shortage of them. So we talked last time about the Bybit hack. So the Bybit hack, of course, the largest hack in crypto history, $1.5 billion that was hacked from Bybit, stolen by the Lazarus Group, which is the the cyber arm of North Korea. This hack, Bybit ended up making everybody whole. They replenished all the ETH. They ended up buying a bunch of it back after taking short-term loans. So everybody's okay. But we finally got the audit report. And the expectation that everybody had going into it was like, oh, there must have been Trojans. They must have been, reusing their devices, doing all sorts of shit. And the crazy thing that we discovered was that the Bybit machines were all clean. The attack was actually on Gnosis Safe. So Gnosis Safe, which is one of the most used multisigs in crypto, they host a website, which is a UI that you can use to interact with these smart contracts, where they also basically cache intermediate states of transactions that are partially signed. So it's kind of it's not strictly necessary to use Gnosis Safe, but it's the way that almost everyone uses it.
Well, it's not the way. Yeah, I mean, I don't think exchanges should be using it, frankly. I think it's more of a retail product designed for smaller sums of money.
Well, I think the way in which they were using it was what ended up leading to the problem. The service itself is not the problem. But what ended up happening was that Gnosis Safe, turns out, had some kind of compromise in their AWS S3 bucket. And the really bizarre thing was that initially Safe said that they were good. They turned off the service immediately after the hack. And then a couple of days later, they turned it back on, said, we've made some security upgrades. We're good. We were not compromised. Then Bybit releases the report. The report says that actually Safe was compromised. There was a JavaScript snippet that the Lazarus Group hot swapped from the UI to put this JavaScript snippet that only targeted one wallet, which was the Bybit hot wallet. And that JavaScript was live for a number of hours. And then once, so Bybit, it was a $1.5 billion wallet, but they were only moving like a few, like $20,000 or something, a very small amount that they were moving in that transaction. And from that transaction, they swapped the implementation of the wallet to a wallet that they controlled. And within minutes of that transaction taking place, the JavaScript on the front end reverted back to the old version. And so that's maybe partially the reason why Safe didn't notice that anything was wrong. Nobody noticed anything was wrong until these audit reports came out. And so this ended up being devastating for Safe. Safe then came in and tried to reassure everybody that, hey, we're okay. They were able to eventually find the compromise, which was tied to one of their developers had a compromised API key with AWS. They're going over everything with a fine-tooth comb now to make sure that they're secure, but it's one of the craziest compromise paths that we have seen in crypto.
Lazarus is good.
Lazarus is incredibly good. And the crazy thing is that this is analogous to the Radiant hack and the WazirX hack, which led people to speculate. And again, right now, I don't think there's any evidence of this yet, but that maybe the Lazarus Group had this for a long time.
Right. You burn a 0 day or an opportunity when the opportunity gets large enough.
That's right. That's right.
And a $1.5 billion hack is worth holding on to, right? They could have developed this years ago.
Totally. So we really don't know at this point how long they've been in the Safe system. And so the thing, and I think Laura Shin just had some folks on from the Security Alliance talk about, okay, what can you do in order to secure yourself from this kind of attack? And the one thing that I think should give everybody some comfort is that the one thing that has never been compromised in all of these attacks that we've seen across the years is the hardware wallets themselves have never been compromised, right?
That
so as long as you are
as of yet.
Over the last 10
Because
years.
we're
of hardware
talking about
wallets,
sleeper 0 days, and let me tell you, having worked in hardware, there can be sleeper 0 days for many years after you burn the chip, after you do the tape out.
Absolutely, there can be, right? But like, at least for now, we have seen there's not been a single of these hacks in crypto history that has been at the hardware layer. Now, the layer between the hardware, like what it shows you on the ledger and what's on your monitor, that can get compromised all day long, right? So the pixels on your screen are not trusted and can be manipulated all sorts of ways.
Right, but what you see on the hardware also is not going to give you the visibility into the actual transaction for safe multi-sig transactions. It's like, here's a blob of data that who knows how that decodes.
That's right. So
like nobody is taking, their screen, taking the information displayed on the screen and then like uncompiling it.
Well, so this is now the best practice that people are recommending, is to basically use some of these services that I think P. Carvacerio.
I don't know how to pronounce it, but
I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Thank you.
But he's from Seal, and he's been pushing this product. I think Open Zeppelin recently productized as well.
Yeah, it's basically just a script that reruns locally the transaction generation process and shows there's like verifies their
it shows that the hash that you're signing corresponds to the transaction you're supposed to be signing. And if people had done this, these attacks would not be possible.
I mean, not necessarily. Like, I don't think it's fundamentally safe for there to be $1 billion in a smart contract wallet, period. Right?
Agreed.
Like, I don't think we can just, this is not the first time there's been we'll call it smart contract based multi-sig wallet that's had astounding losses to it, right? There was like back in the day, the parity multi-sig, multiple hacks, right?
Yeah.
That was 200 million at those prices.
At those prices,
it might be a lot.
Might be more
than this.
Yeah,
way more.
But fundamentally, I don't think anyone should be keeping $1 billion plus in a smart contract wallet. Like the fact that they weren't using a custodian of some variety to store their assets is absolutely perplexing to me, frankly. Like an exchange of that size, an incredibly successful one, a large one that has to safeguard the assets of millions of users, using a multi-sig wallet that's really designed for like prosumers, I just can't get around. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna take the opposite side a little bit, which is that the custodian, what's the custodian doing? They're doing an MPC wallet with either Shamir secret sharing or like some type of sharded key. There's still lots of ways for those to also have issues, and I agree that like yes, the size was probably way too high. Like, why is that in one wallet when you're only doing these $20,000 transactions? I think the why is this in one wallet thing is certainly valid. But I'm actually, I think in general, like, there's lots of other cryptography you can use to make this harder to do. But this was actually very crazy. Another kind of interesting thing about Lazarus in general is they seem to be able to make much more money by these hijackings that are around the smart contracts but never touch anything in the smart contracts, which is like an interesting thing of, you think about the hacks in the early days of Ethereum. It was much more just like finding direct vulnerabilities in smart contracts. And then it became clear, okay, you can do audits, you can do formal verification, you can do a lot of stuff that's like very tested. But the problem is the environment stuff around just never can and will have the same security practices, right? Like a front-end developer is never going to be, inevitably, it's just like a skill difference. They're never going to be able to be as paranoid and
they're
spend
not audited to the same capacity.
Yeah, they're never going to be able to be.
I mean, there's so many layers in between.
Right, the supply chain of all the things that go into
that's
like,
right. There's like
up to
DNS
the front
poisoning, there's JS poisoning, there's all sorts,
there's
all
math
package
libraries
manager,
that
all the
that's right.
packages.
We've seen those before as well, right? Like I remember 1inch got hit by one of those a while back. So the most fascinating thing about this was that North Korea clearly had this on the safe side, and they, one might think like, well, if they had this, why didn't they just like grab everybody? Why didn't they just like dragnet? And the answer, of course, is that they must know that at any given moment, if they swap this, it may be like 10 minutes that they'd be able to get random people transacting, and it would be nowhere near $1.5 billion that moved through that amount of money, right? The only, like the most high value thing is to find one target, follow their patterns, and know exactly when you're going to get them. And then, try to retain. I mean, the reality was that we did not know that they had done this until the postmortem came out. Like literally the whole world was clueless that North Korea was still in the Gnosis Safe front end a week later, right? Which is crazy. I mean, actually, we don't know. They might have rotated credentials immediately afterwards, but in principle, like it may have been that North Korea was holding on to this, hoping that nobody noticed that they had swapped out the front end. So the most interesting part of this aftermath not just being like, okay, the drama about, okay, how did this actually happen, was the inevitable laundering of money that North Korea then did, right? So it started with a few addresses that they got all the money into. Then it became 1,000 addresses. Then it became tens of thousands of addresses. And this is what they do, right? They have this systematic way of laundering funds and breaking them out into many, many different addresses. And so Bybit put out this basically bounty. I think it's called like Lazarus bounty or something, where anybody who can find and stop or interdict Lazarus Group funds across all chains, as it's migrating into Bitcoin, it can get basically a portion of the bounty. So far, I don't think they've been able to get very much, and obviously it's very hard to stop North Korea because they're very good at this. But one of the things that you saw in the last few days, which has caused a lot of drama, is THORChain has become the mechanism of choice for North Korea to launder these funds. So naturally, Ether is good. It's better than METH or these like other whatever stable coins, but it's not as good as Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the gold standard for liquidity and being able to fence this for something.
Also, Bitcoin doesn't go down as much as Ether goes down.
I'm sure that's what North Korea is thinking about. So yeah, North Korea, unfortunately, we tried to get them to be ETH bulls, but they weren't having it, so they abandoned us. So North Korea started using THORChain to transact and turn their Ethereum into Bitcoin. This resulted in one of the largest days of THORChain volume ever. And this created a bunch of drama because THORChain people on Twitter, not all of them, but some of them, started celebrating, being like, wow, look at this. Like, finally, THORChain has a bid and people are using it.
There's a use case.
It's awesome.
Well,
yeah,
you're also ignoring the fact that like that community got decimated by their lending protocol
That's
having a devolving spiral a few weeks ago.
yes,
So
they're already down pretty bad.
they already have
because of
so
Thorland
many
collapsing.
fewer validators, which is also true.
Yes. And so this ended up sparking a drama where Tay, friend of the show, Taylor Monahan from MetaMask, she started calling out all these THORChain apologists, being like, motherfucker, this is North Korea. This is the Lazarus Group. This is like public enemy number one.
Yeah, they're buying missiles with that shit.
That's right. Like, this is, if there's ever a moment that you shut off the validators or you specifically break the rules in order to interdict funds, especially on like, a Mickey Mouse chain with like 10 validators where like all this stuff is like,
Why are you insulting Mickey Mouse?
I'm not insulting Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse is great. I just think the comparison is apt. And this also resulted in the resignation of certain people from the THORChain community, basically saying, look, I'm done. I'm not on sides for, money laundering or sanctions violations or any of this shit. Like I'm getting out of this game. So this has been an interesting moment because you have some people who've been saying like, well, crypto is supposed to be decentralized, supposed to be permissionless, supposed to be censorship resistant. We shouldn't be signing up for censorship. In a moment like this, it kind of really puts your conviction to the test of, do you really, when 99% of your volume is North Korea washing the hack that just happened last week, do you agree with that? Especially when, this is not like Tornado Cash. With Tornado Cash, you cannot tell who's who, right? It's either like shut down the whole network or whatever. There's no way to identify which funds are North Korea's and which ones not. In this case, exactly which
it's
are
obvious.
North Korea's.
Yeah.
It's completely transparent. So curious to get your guys' reaction to the whole THORChain laundering drama. I mean, I guess you seem to already have some sense of what's going on there. What do you think about it?
I mean, I guess like I think their lending debt spiral actually made it so much easier to censor because like they had this huge TVL drawdown in terms of stake as well as fewer validators. I also think that THORChain has always been North Korea's preferred means of crossing. Like there's some of the other bridges like X. There's this other one, EXCH.
Yeah, very weird.
I'd never heard of it until this thing. And but like clearly, but in previous North Korea stuff, this had happened. I think the irony is that I think if the THORChain lending crash didn't happen, maybe it would have been much harder to even make this argument that like, oh, it's like going to be too hard to coordinate all the validators as well as much stake. But like, it kind of seems like the lending crash for THORChain and this hack being so close is actually the reason that it's like compounded this.
Right.
Yeah, I am left thinking about Taylor's thing, the stuff she said about Hyperliquid right around this. Like I
100% agree.
I feel like that to me was the first thought I had when I saw the THORChain stuff.
Okay, so we're getting some Hyperliquid.
No, I'm not. For the record,
develop the thought.
for the record, not.
Develop
they're
the,
going to come after you.
For the record,
HLs are going to
for
come
the-
develop the surface area
for
of
the
risk
record,
to be
for
aware
the
of.
record.
Yeah. Here we
Dot
go.
HLs. I own hype.
How much though? How much though?
Yeah.
Enough that I'm not trying to FUD it.
For
Okay,
more
okay.
disclosures, please see chopping
Yeah.
block.
Okay.
I just think the perpetuals exchanges are very natural places to go. I think Hyperliquid right now is probably actually less likely to have all these issues because the Arbitrum bridge is so janky, and it's sort of like it's like going to a city at the top of a mountain, and like the city is amazing, but like you have to like drive through this horrible jungle, and oh, now they're building an airport. You know, you can. The Hype EVM lets
I'm not
you.
following this analogy.
Have you ever used Hyperliquid?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure now I haven't used it very much.
The Arbitrum bridge is like such a bad experience,
Sure,
right?
sure,
It's like,
sure.
and you get trapped there, right? So like, suppose they did bridge funds, and then Hyperliquid censors them because like they could on the
Right.
exchange
Right.
pretty easily. Then it's kind of not a great.
There's
great.
no exit path.
There's no exit.
Yeah.
But I think once the Hyper EVM L1 is there, then it's a much more attractive place to go because there are now going to be multiple bridges out, right? You can go from the
I mean, okay, maybe. I mean, it requires a lot of liquidity in order to get like if you hack all the USDC. Oh, first of all, it's USDC, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So USDC.
What is there, like
frozen.
$2.5–3 billion
You,
there?
you
Yeah.
freeze USDC.
No.
You got to get all that USDC
well,
out.
there's
and
now
then you
spot,
gotta
there is
swap
spot
it.
Bitcoin from the two
Oh,
or
that's true.
three.
They did add
2 or
more
3,
collateral
yeah.
types. They did add
Yeah.
more collateral types. Do you know if it's getting traction? Is it? It's gotta be
Not
mostly
that much,
USDC.
but it's also a kind of somewhat weak threshold signature. It's like 2 of 3 type thing. So,
Okay.
But again, the attack compromisation wasn't compromising a number of the signers, right? Which is a harder task.
no, I'm just saying that like as
Yes,
the
2 of
EVM
3 is weak.
2 or
okay?
3 is weak. As the Hype EVM develops, if there's enough liquidity there, it becomes a natural way to like take liquidity from the exchange, exit via spot, and then exit via bridge. And
Yeah.
there's a sense in which because of how big it is, how much capital is in Hyperliquid, and is like sort of new, so it's more likely there could be these vulnerabilities. I look, I'm not trying to FUD my bags, all right? Like,
Kind of seems like you're
Yeah.
trying to FUD these bags, though.
So that
I
you can
have to
buy
say,
more at a
just-
lower price. Yeah, I
No,
get it.
Yeah,
Tarun,
for somebody not trying to FUD bags, you're trying to FUD.
I just am saying, like, I thought about Taylor's kind of description.
I would
with
say
Hyperliquid.
it aged fairly well. That Lazarus Group should not be fucked with.
No,
Yeah,
These guys are serious motherfuckers.
they're trying to compromise almost every single project in crypto right now while we have this conversation.
The other thing is Hyperliquid has a very high UX surface area because it's a first party app.
Sure.
And
True.
that's where I worry there could be this kind of like UX audit doesn't match smart contract audit type
Right.
thing.
Tom, what's your take on the situation?
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like all this stuff is somewhat futile. It's just like obfuscation. It's not actually anonymization of the assets. Like, I think there have been a few either like FBI or DOJ indictments that explicitly cite like THORChain data and show, hey, we can actually like trace, this THORChain swap because it's public information, right?
Yeah.
Once the transaction posts. So I think the Lazarus Bounty site was actually, I think, quite clever, just as a way to, hey, actually keep the public abreast of where these funds are actually going and feel like people can have some stake or feel like they can get some transparency. Otherwise, it's like, yeah, I'm not going to go and sort of, create my own data set of the tens of thousands of addresses. You can stitch all this stuff together and create something that's publicly available. So, I mean, even the Hyperliquid thing, like, yeah, they can bridge out, but that's still transparent. That's still public. And like this,
For sure. Yeah.
this just feels like it's delaying kind of the inevitable. So,
the one thing that you bring up about the Lazarus Bounty website, and this is more as a pithy joke, CZ, don't come kill me, which is there's only if there's only one thing you can say centralized exchanges are really good at, it's making leaderboards out of anything. Right? 'Cause, like this is like it was like they stood up a leaderboard in like
It was
2
It
hours.
was a beautiful leaderboard. It was a beautiful leaderboard. One of the interesting things, I was talking with some folks from Seal, and it should be that, okay, moving money around from Ethereum to Bitcoin over THORChain, like, okay, what is that really going to do besides get you out of a bad EF exposure?
Great trade.
Like, yeah, exactly. But besides the trading inside,
Yeah, most people who are selling Ether for Bitcoin have done pretty well.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe I don't know, bullish North Korea, I guess. But the striking thing is that actually it's more effective than it should be. And the reason why it's more effective than it should be is that a lot of these KYT services, so KYT stands for Know Your Transaction, which is basically like transaction monitoring. A lot of these KYT services, they're just actually fucking terrible, right? So a lot of these exchanges, especially like, cheaper, shittier ones, they use these KYT providers that literally update like once a day. Or they just give you like this big data dump of like, hey, here's a snapshot of all the addresses you should not be interacting with. And you pull down a new one every 24 hours. Obviously, this is not how anything should work in blockchain land, but there are a lot of them that actually do work this way. And because of that, if you just do a bunch of like, combined split, and then basically within 24 hours, run it through some Russian exchange, cash out, get out, and you're good. So that is actually the way that a lot of these funds end up getting laundered, is because there are so many terrible KYT service providers out there that really, if those all went away and everybody standardized on real-time KYT, a lot of this would become way harder for North Korea and for money laundering generally. So this is something that I learned, chatting with some of the folks at Seal who are kind of in the trenches trying to help these companies that literally have KYT services and they're just accepting deposits from Lazarus. They're like, well, what's wrong? Everything's great. So that's part of the reason why this shit, despite how simple it is, it actually does work.
What's the path that Lazarus uses to go from Bitcoin to Russian exchange back to North Korean off-chain money?
I think they just deposit into some exchange. They withdraw from that exchange, right? And that exchange is not necessarily.
Oh, that's obfuscating.
Right, exactly.
And then they send it to some other Chinese exchange.
Yeah, and then by then it's like, oh, it's clean. It looks clean, right? It's no longer connected to the
Right.
whole thing. So basically, the exchange itself becomes the mixer. So
that makes sense.
I mean, ideally, they can sell it for something.
Yeah, although in theory, I guess that seems like you have to be really quick to get out of, because like the moment that, in theory, the exchanges could, unlike a mixer, the exchanges could share like all the
right. But that's the thing is is Binance sharing data with like some random tiny Russian exchange? Probably not. Right?
Sure, but doesn't a random tiny Russian exchange not have that much withdrawal capacity either? So like the problem is
that's
that
why you're splitting it up.
Yeah,
into
but if
tiny,
they're
tiny
putting
deposits.
100 Bitcoin in, there's an extra 100 Bitcoin to take out.
Yeah. So on this episode, we teach you how to launder money.
Interesting.
Yeah, don't do that.
So to be clear, I think the way forward for this as an industry. So one, it would be great to have more intel sharing among exchanges, right? This is kind of one of the coordination problems, and it's not even a domestic problem.
Blockchains could solve this.
Blockchain does actually solve this. So having more information sharing among exchanges would be a big solve for this. But the second thing, obviously, would be that we have to extinguish these bad KYT providers, because this is really the heart and soul. Because these days, there's almost no exchanges that don't do some amount of KYT. But it's
I would hope,
oftentimes like a box checking thing, right? It's like, oh, we did it. This guy is he's compliant, so therefore we're fine. And like no one's going to yell at you because your KYT provider has 24-hour latency, right? It's like, well, I don't know. It's not my fault. It's the provider's fault. So anyway, that's my understanding. I might have butchered some of that, so if I'm totally wrong, please yell at us in the comments and correct us. Okay, so hopefully we can put that story to rest. All's well that ends well, and Bybit I think has come out relatively speaking stronger for it. So their volumes and some of their deposits have recovered.
And they paid back the loans, right?
They as far as I understand, they paid back the loans, and they're.
I feel like for the end users, if you didn't read the news, you might not have noticed, which is like as good of a thing as you could.
Yeah,
say
exactly. Which is really just such a far cry from where we were, in previous big hacks that we've seen in crypto. So on the other
also,
side,
Ben's PR push was great. I feel like I saw some of the podcasts later, and I was like
really
very
masterful.
impressed.
Really masterful. Yeah. So, all right. So coming on to our favorite topic, everyone loves us covering this, is meme coins. So meme coins,
yet again,
alongside everything else, have been having a very bad, no good week. And to top that off,
they had a good day.
Well, so as kind of the angel of death that inevitably comes when the party's already over, the SEC showed up and had a big announcement to make to everybody, which is that meme coins are not securities.
Official policy.
Yay! As it turns out, meme coins are akin to collectibles. Meme coins also typically have limited or no use or functionality. Fraudulent conduct related to the offer and sale of meme coins may be subject to enforcement, but as a general matter, meme coins are not under the SEC's jurisdiction. That was the statement, and basically perfect timing because nobody wants to do meme coins anymore. So it looks like new token launches are down over 60%. The number of tokens bonding on pump.fun has cratered. All these pump.fun tokens and meme coins generally are getting no bid, and people are basically saying that the meme coin cycle is cooked. I've heard this from multiple people at Denver. So there's something very beautiful about the SEC showing up always, like, so whether it's like Gensler coming in to prosecute OpenSea after NFTs have already collapsed, to now Hester Peirce coming in
it's like,
to declare the meme coins are great after they've collapsed.
It's like those memes of people like dancing. Actually, speaking of pallbearers, like, you know, the memes of like
Oh,
the
yeah,
funeral dancing thing. Like, yeah,
Right.
it feels like that.
It is a little bit of that. The SEC always carries out the trend one way or the other, whether it's, you know, on their arms or in the grave. So I don't know. How do you feel seeing how crypto friendly this administration
So
is?
I found there's an amazing article. Like, I didn't realize this until reading Matt Levine sometime this week. But basically, I don't know if you know about the InfoWars bankruptcy. So I guess Alex Jones.
I followed the beginning parts of it, but not the end.
No, there's a Memecoin thing here. That's
Oh,
why. That's why
what?
we're.
Hooray!
I remember he was trying to hide a bunch of assets.
Oh,
Is that what you're talking about?
Get ready. It gets even
Okay.
crazier.
Okay.
So
Wait, did he make a meme coin?
now that you gotta
Let the
wait.
man
You gotta
tell the
wait.
story.
All right, let him
All
tell
right.
the story. Let the man tell the story.
Come on.
So
Uncle Therese,
so basically, Alex Jones sued by Sandy Hook. The Sandy Hook families, victims, they won. He went bankrupt. He basically had to pay some hundreds of millions, maybe $1 billion in restitution to them. And so what happened was InfoWars was seized, and the government ran sort of a normal foreclosure auction. The company that won it was
The Onion.
something Tetrahedron Inc., which is technically the holding company that owns the Onion.
Hmm.
And basically they won, and the main thing and the deal they struck with the Sandy Hook victims is like, hey, we don't have that much cash, but instead we will buy the InfoWars IP and use it to do gun rights education, like basically be like a anti-gun
Oh, wow.
media
I
outlet.
didn't realize that.
But Alex Jones' acolytes launched the Wars meme coin and put in a bid much higher than the Onion, sneaking it under the rug of the foreclosure auction, saying that they'll give 51% of the Wars token as part of the payment, plus some cash. And it was significantly higher than the Onion's bid. And
With the Wars token being marked to market.
Yeah.
Okay, because this token
they
was already
had
live.
10% live. It's been trading.
Okay.
And 51% goes to the victims. And even at the current price is way higher than the Onion's offer, because the Onion's offer was mainly these concessions around doing
Educational,
education
yeah,
and
yeah.
not cash
Okay.
or cash equivalent. And the Onion sued because they're like, wait, this is our thing. And lost due to some procedural issues that I guess happened in the auction. So now it's going to go to the Wars meme coin holders, and the Wars meme coin holders get to vote on what happens with InfoWars.com.
Wait, so this meme coin has utility.
It does.
That's bearish.
Yeah, it might be a
trouble.
security
That's
now.
trouble. It could be a security.
Yeah.
Okay, tough shit.
Yeah,
All right.
this might actually be a situation where it's pooling assets to run a business.
It literally is. This is exactly what was in
This
the
is what
statement,
Hester
isn't it?
warned us about.
Exactly.
So-
Watch out, guys.
so-
Wars token.
So anyway, I
Not legal advice.
think
not
this
legal
I
advice.
think this is where this, as far as I know the story, Tom, maybe if I'm missing anything, I think
No,
that's
I think that's right. Well, I think Matt also talked about sort of the bid being weirdly structured, where like, hey, you actually have this huge liability, right, from the that they owe to the parent. So the Onion thing was actually functionally higher because they also agreed to wipe this debt from the business. But yeah, I don't know, it was all weird. But
the
I do remember
procedure. That was the procedural thing.
yeah,
with
the
slide.
Wars
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, the meme coin bidding.
Wow.
How's Wars doing now?
I've
I
not
haven't
checked.
looked.
That was my first time
Right.
learning about
What
it.
do you think?
Actually,
What would happen if the bankruptcy bid gets worse because the meme coin value plummets?
I mean, if you have to give 50% of the meme coin to a bunch of, deceased parents of deceased kids, that's probably not bullish for the token price. I would
No,
assume.
they're going to sell.
Yeah, of course. Like, they're not going to be long Wars token.
No,
So-
but I guess they get to vote on something. So like there was this claim that like and so this wasn't in the written article, but this was on the podcast they do. Matt Levine and Katie Greifeld, which was basically like actually the families can still vote to turn it into a gun rights education thing. So
Huh.
the idea was that they would vote and then don't.
Oh man,
binding governance
Yeah,
through
some
the
kind of
Wars
government.
token. Yeah.
meme coins with governance, that is incredibly bearish.
I'm just reporting the facts. I don't even understand how this thing happened, but I guess because the meme coin already launched, yeah.
This all sounds extremely over.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
all sounds extremely over.
I think the SEC went too far. There was also there was the news today that they settled with Richard Hart.
No, they
Did you
didn't
see it?
settle. It was actually dismissed on.
That's even
a
worse,
technical-
What?
honestly.
Yeah, so it was dismissed by a judge, and for anyone who is not aware of Richard Hart,
The largest die holder.
We will
Mm.
absolutely get sued if you try to reiterate the Richard Hart case from memory.
all right, I'm not going to try to reiterate the Richard Hart case.
Only thing
from
you know,
memory.
he's the largest MakerDAO die minter.
Yeah.
in
He's a
history.
great
Okay.
man,
So
and he's a true patriot.
the case
He
was
could use a
dismi-
little bit of better fashion advice.
Okay,
but-
the case was dismissed, but without prejudice, and so the judge basically said that they did not correctly allege that the acts were directed at United States citizens,
Oh,
and that they gave the SEC leave to amend their filing. But
Oh.
until then, it's dismissed.
oh, so
Okay,
the
this is
SEC
not as
dropped
bad.
the case.
The SEC did not drop the
Oh,
case.
okay.
Okay.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Yeah.
That is a relief to hear
Yeah.
that that's not what.
Correct. There'd be probably riots in the crypto streets
There would
if they
absolutely be.
dropped that one.
Okay. Yeah. So there have been a lot of cases that the SEC has recently dropped. They dropped the case against Uniswap. Obviously, we all know Coinbase. We talked about that last week. OpenSea.
Well, they dropped
the
an
case.
investigation against OpenSea, Uniswap, etc. So,
Oh,
like,
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right.
like there's a difference between.
There was a Wells notice issued, but they hadn't actually filed charges.
right, exactly.
Right. So a lot of we're seeing basically the slate get wiped clean for a lot of companies. Consensus as well was on that list.
Right. None
Um,
of those actors being accused of fraud. Though.
That's
they
right.
were all good actors trying to build in America.
So to the extent to which the SEC is making good on the promises it made, we're seeing that play out right now. So that's all great. Obviously, markets are fixated on macro and tariffs and all this other stuff, but at least within the crypto world, it's really great to see basically United States being open for business for crypto founders again. And I think there is, at least if there's any sigh of relief that I hear from when I talk to people in Denver, it's like, okay, it does feel like that part of the vibe has changed, and the sense that everyone has to pay $1 gajillion to lawyers and do all these structuring gymnastics in order to build anything in the space. Ultimately, it's good for all of us if that stuff goes away. So
Yeah, more capital to hire people to build.
more capital to hire people to build. So speaking of people,
Speaking of people,
bad transition. All right.
Wait, isn't that like every topic?
Don't think about it too much.
speaking of people, and
The
speaking of
Ethereum,
blockchain.
okay, the Ethereum Foundation, the Ethereum Foundation. All right, so we had some big transitions in the Ethereum Foundation, which is apropos of being here at ETH Denver. So Aya Miyaguchi, who was the executive director at the Ethereum Foundation, she's been leading it for 7 years, 8 years, something like that, quite a long time. And she recently transitioned to president, which I think is code for step down. I'm not sure what exactly it means, but
it could mean anything.
okay, yeah. I mean, I feel like it's one of these, like, okay, you're sort of an elder stateswoman kind of role. It's like, okay, well, you'll be in the wings, you'll be on the board or something, but you're no longer day-to-day operating. So
Well, a president could be day-to-day operating.
I don't know, but certainly the way the blog posts were written and the way the tweets were
Yeah.
written kind of made it seem like, okay, it's been an amazing journey. It didn't sound
I
like,
will-
hey,
I-
we're promoting you.
I will say the blog posts. If when you were in high school, you ever had to use Strunk and White, the elements of
Yes.
style.
Elements of style, yeah.
That blog post
I
did
had no
everything
style.
wrong in that. Like it was like
Hey,
very.
it could have been translated from Japanese. You don't know.
No, sure. I'm just saying I had to read it 3 times because I was like, there's no concision, there's no directness, there's no way of like following the points, and
Yes.
it took
was
me
very
forever.
philosophical. It was very philosophical, which is why I inferred that this is somebody who is moving on to greener pastures.
I'm just saying it was really. I really had strain to read it because it was like
Yeah.
confusing.
it was a little ploddy. I feel like it's like it felt like a lot of AI assistants in that.
Well, you need AI to decode it.
Summarize it.
I probably should have done that instead
Yeah,
of reading it 3
So
times.
okay, so Aya Miyaguchi stepped down. This was pretty anticipated. People kind of knew that there was this, we talked about before, this sort of civil war within Ethereum, and this sense that, okay, maybe Danny Ryan or somebody else is going to be coming in to lead the foundation. We have not seen that person yet, but there was this tweet that the Ethereum Foundation put out recently that really got people up in arms. And so there was really no time
Recently,
to
but
celebrate.
today, right?
I think it was yesterday.
It was this morning.
Oh, it was this morning. Okay,
I missed
okay.
this tweet. So
Okay, you missed this tweet. So I'll try my best to explain it to you.
backstage, everyone was talking about a tweet. I'm like, what tweet is everyone talking about?
So the announcement was what's called the ETH Silviculture Society, which is an informal council to the ETH of a group of people who will help Ethereum tend to Ethereum's infinite garden. And they will be our assistant gardeners who will help us to make this into a more beautiful and green pasture. And they showed a circle of like 12 PFPs of people of whom probably maybe 3 of them you've ever heard of. And that was the tweet. And basically everybody's response to this tweet was, what the fuck are you saying? What is this?
Also, do you remember Google's failed social network Circles?
Circles,
Or
yeah,
it
yeah.
looked like that.
It did,
It did look like Google's.
Yeah, so basically what I saw, I don't know how you guys interpreted it, because obviously this just happened today, but I just saw just pure rage.
But rage from people who never speak out against the EF. Like
Yes.
Hayden wrote a tweet
Hayden-
that was like,
Hayden
that
dunked
one
on
in
them.
particular was like very surprising to see. That
Wow,
was
I've
like,
not been on Twitter today. I can't wait to log on tonight.
Yeah. Well,
That-
it's very much like this civil war breaking out into the rank and file. That's what this feels like, which is that it's just like one general said the wrong thing, and now everybody is like. ready to
also,
fight.
I will say, I did know more than 3. And a lot of those people are security researchers. So the guy who wrote the hash checking script is on there. So
I
like
know him.
Matthew
I know
Green
him.
was there.
I know Lefterists. I know
Yeah.
who else was on
Millie, Matthew Green,
Optimizer.
Optimizer.
Yeah.
there? Okay. Yeah.
There
You
were
have like
no,
6
no.
mutuals
No,
on there, so I got to give a shout out.
Yeah, actually, I feel like there was
How many of them did you not know?
10%, 5%.
How many of them did you not
10%?
know?
Like 40%.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm at least 60 that I
Okay.
didn't know who they were.
It's okay. You're a VC.
I'm a VC.
Yeah.
You guys are in
Yeah.
the trenches. So
But
you guys
the fact that there were security researchers made me feel better. I'll give the one positive because I know
better
everyone was
for-
dunking on it, but I actually like the fact that after the safe hack, you have all these security.
yeah, but it's like,
But it's
okay,
about
what-
tending the garden, Tarun. It's
yeah,
not
what
about
the fuck is
protecting the
tending
garden.
The garden. This sounds like some kind of euphemism for like hygiene.
Look, if the EF is going to get advice from security researchers after this big hack that we spent all this time talking about, I'm happy with that.
No, they need advice from marketers. They need advice from
Exactly.
business development
Yeah.
pros. They need advice from
I'm
people
not thinking
that
about the
want to
token
win.
price. I'm okay. I'm just.
I don't think this was done in response to the Bybit hack. Like
I know. I'm trying to find some positive because
There's no way they
There's
put
like
that together
3
in, like,
miladies
3
in there,
days,
so that's
you
my
know?
my
Oh.
silver lining. Yeah.
Okay, so
I,
I'm
5%
just trying to
milady?
not be
Yeah,
as
it's
negative.
really
'cause
good
people,
takes.
people who are never negative to Ethereum.
Come on, you've been negative all show, and now all of a sudden you're super positive.
I have a much bigger soft spot for Ethereum than probably everyone on this show, and so like,
What?
and I will say,
Wait, what?
Sorry. Yeah.
Well, an audience. I just want everyone to mentally check in with Tarun's vibe over the last couple of years. Is that what it feels like? Does it feel like he has more of a soft
No,
spot
no,
for
no,
Ethereum
more
than
than
everyone else
us.
on the show?
Yeah.
I think
Is that-
Tarun's
is that
a Solana deep state plan. He's trying to promote the Ethereum cultural rot from within.
Agreed.
You know,
If
That's
there's
right.
a
I think he's a
softie-
double agent. I think that's what this
If
is.
there's an Ethereum softie on the show, it's me. Okay.
That is true. I think
True.
No,
I
you
think
say
you're the
Ethereum
number one
wrong.
Ethereum softie.
you say F.
That doesn't change. See, this is culture war.
This is exactly
Yeah,
how
I
you see the
agree.
conflict. This is how
Yeah.
you see the conflict. He's trying to start culture wars inside of Ethereum.
Inside the
I'm cutting
chopping
off your
block.
answer. Tom,
Yeah.
what were you going to say?
No, I was like, have you seen that excerpt from like the CIA manual on how
Yeah,
to like disrupt the
sabotage.
organization? Yeah,
Yes.
this is Tarun's checking all the
100%.
boxes right now.
100%.
Ethereum self-sabotage. Yep.
I just kind of feel bad because I've never seen so many people dunk on even the other stuff people were like annoyed about with they post Danny Ryan deadlifting picture or whatever, like he was
That's not a
doing
deadlift.
whatever the walking with weights thing picture.
Walking with weights.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
This
yeah.
picture?
There's a photo of him with like a yoke
Okay.
with weights on it, you know?
Yeah. And it was like them being like, look, we're not soy wef,
deadlifts don't
whatever.
go on your back.
Yeah, sorry.
Tarun doesn't, you know.
All right,
Yeah,
all right. No, it's good.
Okay.
It's good.
And even then there were always like still support. This one was like universally reviled in a way where I'm like, oh, I kind of feel bad. I feel like they did not think that hard about
Okay.
this.
Mm.
Tom,
I
what's
can't
your-
wait to read this tweet.
Yeah. Tom,
Yeah.
what's your analysis? What's your
Yeah,
analysis?
I think in isolation, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just so tone deaf. It's like now at the time when the people want to hear from you and they want to see change, it's like this is what you put. If it was like when like brands have some crisis and then the intern's scheduled tweet goes out anyway. That's what this kind of felt like. So yeah, check your scheduled tweets, people.
Yeah. That's a really good way of describing it. I will say, even for the EF, it was particularly stupid. Like I think this was Hayden's criticism is like, look, the idea is fine. Okay, there's a council of people who I guess are mostly security experts.
Not mostly.
Who-
It's mixed. It's mixed.
Okay, so there's a council of technical people who will talk
There's
to
miladies
Ethereum.
and non-miladies.
Yeah, fine. Okay, describe what it is. What the fuck is tending to the infinite guard? Like, what are you talking about? So even if it was a scheduled tweet, like who scheduled a tweet that was so nondescript?
Scheduled from a year ago. They
Yeah.
just,
Yeah, exactly. It's like, no, we like the job of an organization is to give people clarity about what you're doing. You know, you're not like this is like a teaser. You know, no, like, it's not so cool. People be like, oh, you guess what company we just partnered with? You know, it's like guess what this cabal we just put together does.
Yeah, guess
We're
what
not telling.
guess what the goal of Ethereum is.
Yeah, pretty much. So I think this is I don't know. It does feel like whoever is coming into the EF needs to take heed of this and see that, like, hey, the idea that there's a problem with the branding and the messaging and the marketing, which on some sense, like Ethereum it's been hearing that message, but kind of not fully embracing it. You know, it's like, oh, well, maybe we need to change the leadership. Maybe we need to, you know, be more aggressive with our timelines. Maybe we need to, you know, think about scaling Ethereum. Or maybe we need to do this, we need to do that. But they haven't really taken on, you know, Vitalik said, like, look, we're not embracing this, like, you know, Bronze Age, hyper masculine, whatever. Like, we're not, we reject that thing. And we're going to continue on with the WEF soy boy mentality.
Which garden tending is.
Exactly. And I think what this tweet tells you is that no, don't do that. Like, everybody in Ethereum is telling you, please don't do that. This is not 8 years ago. We are not like some socialist utopia. Like, Ethereum needs to reorient its storytelling and its messaging. You know, I don't know. I mean, am I wrong?
You're not wrong. I just felt bad for whoever wrote it because, like, I've never seen someone get dunked that universally. Like that was like the world's worst ratio in history. Like, if you just like added up all the dunks,
It's pretty bad.
I can't wait to add to the ratio when I get home.
Okay. Well, we look forward to the tweet.
Yeah.
So speaking of Ethereum, we do have to close the show out by settling a bet that we made on this show 6 months ago.
Ooh,
So,
spicy.
If you remember, 6 months ago, we were talking about the conversation that was happening around Ethereum scaling and the idea of whether or not Ethereum was going to increase the block size, increase block space, increase the gas limit, lower the block time. I just said the same thing 3 times. Or whether there are going to be bigger changes to Ethereum. So here's what our predictions were. I think we bet a case of Red Bull on it. So the winner gets.
So I'm the only winner in this, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I would give my Red Bull to Tarun.
Well, Red Bull. I mean, look, you can maybe receive your Red Bull in kind, or you can get it. In
Red
cash.
Bull.
No, it's Red Bull only.
Red Bull only.
People at Red Bull, if you're listening to this is why you need to sponsor us with the fridge.
Yes.
Ooh.
That's true. That's true. Let's get a Red Bull fridge on deck. Okay, so here's what we all bet happened. So Tarun bet either gas limit increase or block time reduction. I said that both a gas limit would increase and a block time reduction would happen. Tom said only a gas limit increase would happen, and Robert predicted nothing would change in 6 months. I believe we had a gas limit increase since the merge,
Yep,
right?
we did.
Yeah, we did.
I won.
So Tom wins the bet.
I know Ethereum.
You know
Red Bull.
Ethereum all too well. I guess 3 packs of Red Bull to Tom.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Wait,
Thank
no,
you.
one case of Red Bull.
Do we just do one case?
I thought it was the
one
winner
case
gets
each?
a case of Red Bull. We split it. We chipped
Do
it.
we split it?
One case?
I accept cash
Okay.
too.
How much is a case of Red Bull? Like
Do you
10 bucks?
expect? Do you take Ethereum?
I do take Ethereum. I
No,
only,
it has to be in kind. We just agreed on
I only take
kind.
base Ethereum though, so you're gonna have to find some way to make that
Yeah,
happen.
mainnet's cooked. No one uses
Yeah.
mainnet.
Or you can send me bridged Ethereum on Solana.
They have that now?
They have that.
That's
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll have to take a photo of you with your 1 case of Red Bull.
I'm very
We will
hyped.
also-
Sugar-free or regular?
Yeah, I want that coconut edition. you
Wait, there's
know?
coconut now?
Coconut
yeah, it's
edition?
Good. Yeah, it's good.
We-
Yeah.
we have
Oh,
fallen from
Tarun
the
thumbs
light of
down
God.
coconut.
It's
so
good.
gross.
I want to try a coconut.
Okay, yeah,
So
let's
gross.
get one.
Yeah.
Do you?
Can I have one of the
Have you
Red
ever
Bulls?
drank Malibu, the coconut rum?
Yeah.
Yes.
It tastes
When I
like
was like
that.
when I was 21.
It tastes like that. That's precisely why I'm saying that.
I have
Well-
not had a Red Bull in like 15 years.
I
The
had one this
flavored ones
afternoon.
are crazy.
Yeah,
Nice.
you had one.
Well done.
At the Robot Ventures event. Yeah.
Great.
In Tarun's honor, I had
Okay.
a sugar-free Red Bull.
No kidding. It's beautiful. I have seen since the advent of the chopping block, there have been Red Bulls in so many more speaker rooms because of you.
That's right.
I think purely because of Tarun.
Red Bull, where's the fridge?
we really, we're single-handedly increasing the demand
Amongst
for
the
Red Bulls
crypto
at crypto.
community.
Yeah.
At crypto.
100%.
community.
That fridge is probably costs 1% of the increase in sales you got.
Less, way less.
Like,
You
like,
kidding?
not even. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Putting the call out. If you have any contacts with Red Bull, get a Red Bull fridge. We will feature it on the show. All right.
I promise if I get the fridge, it'll be whenever I'm at home, it'll be in the background.
I just want to point out that you're rich enough to buy a fridge.
No. The game of the Red Bull fridge is that you're that they created it as a way to like be like you're a streamer who's like drinking Red Bull all the time, and it was a status thing to get one because it's like you can't really buy it. It's not about buying.
I
it.
bet
It's
you
like,
can buy one.
I'm sure you can buy a used one now, but I think there was a while.
How many Red Bulls a day do you drink?
I probably drink like 3 12 ounces and 1 Celsius.
What?
12 ounces?
Dude, that's like 500 milligrams of caffeine.
Yeah.
I'm worried.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Drew,
How much-
you're
how
still
much
alive?
caffeine do you need before you will die of a heart attack?
More than that.
much
Okay,
depends
yeah,
on the man.
but I'm like, you're getting up there like heart palpitations.
The great thing is my blood pressure is low, so I'm like, all right, I'll keep.
I don't know that you can rely on any of your biomarkers if you're ingesting that much caffeine every day, but
That is a staggering quantity.
that is a lot.
Red Bull
right,
again.
you know what?
This is
Red
why
Bull,
you want
maybe,
me as your
maybe
sponsor.
let's like find some caffeine-free versions. that
Let's
we can
tone
send
down
to
the
Red
Red
Bull.
Bull.
Yeah,
Caffeine-free Red Bull.
yeah,
No,
exactly.
They actually do
weaning them
have.
off
They
of
do
this.
have some of the flavored ones don't have. Caffeine.
Really?
Yeah,
What?
it's like
Okay.
weird.
So what is it?
Because now
You
they have
might
like
want to use an
500
intervention
flavors.
to get to like trick him to start lowering his caffeine intake. Anyway,
Wow.
Okay,
All right,
well,
on that note,
yeah, we
Wow,
got
is
we
this
got to
like
get
a
out of here.
Pavlovian dog experiment with me drinking not fake caffeinated drinks?
oh,
what you're-
that's a great idea.
no,
Yeah,
no,
placebo
but
Red Bull for sure.
if it was, we wouldn't tell you in advance. Anyway, all right. Thanks everybody. We'll be back next week. See you, everyone.